a leadership breakdown, and a lot of the stuff we see, whether it's on the news and all that, I don't watch the news much, but I will like so Powell speaks about the interest rates and all that because I'm so invested in stocks. And it's so much stale doom and gloom without giving any vision or any hope.
Mm.
And that's where I said, like, is the American dream dead? Because the bureaucracy leadership examples we see are terrible because, like, they'll get up there and basically be like, we're raising the interest rates again. Inflation's really high. It's going to get hard. It's hard. We've got a job to do, but without like painting any vision. But we're going to get through this. Like
Right.
America's resilient. Look what we've overcome in the past. We've overcome World War One, World War Two. We're going to get, like they leave it at that. And that's not good leadership. That's just
Horrible.
like making everyone, that's like leading off of fear, off of a script. And you have to also, like, where there's no vision, people will perish. And
Yep.
so it leaves everyone like feeling hopeless. And then they'll ask questions, and it's not good leadership because then they'll be like, we take things in as they come, and their egos will get so, and the person asking questions like, I'm not saying that you guys are wrong or right. I just was asking, and it's like, who cares if you're wrong or right? It's about how do we, the mission is
Move
making
forward.
America like better and unified. And if you as a person and a leader are wrong, which all of us are, okay, cool. I screwed up. So rather than trying to mask it, let's work on, we just got new information. Let's fix it. Another example, I love Elon Musk. I own tons of Tesla stock. I have my Tesla Plaid. I talk about it all the time. I respect the hell out of him. He had a huge leadership breakdown on the recent Q3 call for the Tesla earnings.
Mm.
And we all go through emotional stuff and all that. And I love him. However, he basically blamed all the circumstances, which are true. Interest rates are way high. That's affecting their car sales, which is true. Imagine like you're buying a car at 2%. Now it's at 8.5%. He's like, basically the interest rates have to go down, which I agree. However, still as a leader, your job is to keep, how do I maneuver in the, so he didn't give like, but while they're high, we're going to, we've got through these hard times. We're going to focus. He's like, they don't do that. Like everything's, this is horrible. I'm sleeping on the floor. He was more complaining and then not giving hope. And then they're like, what about the Cybertruck, which has like the most pre-orders of any vehicle in history? He's like, oh, it's going to be great, but we've dug our own grave with it because we're not ready. And I'm just thinking in my head,
Yeah.
your whole team's watching you, working their butt off. And like you're telling all them right now, they dug their own. It's like,
Horrible leadership.
it's okay. I respect being authentic, and you should be real and be like, there's more. We've learned it's going to take a little longer. However, like this
Yeah.
thing's going to be so, like, truthfully, so amazing. The interest rates suck right now and they need to lower them. And this is hard as hell. But again, we've been through this when we started the company. They didn't think we were going to make it. We've built, like follow it up with some type of, it was so doom and gloom. And I felt bad for him. He's going through a lot right now. However, as a leader,
Yep.
and if people are like, well, you don't get it, you can't. Well, that's when I bring up like Nelson Mandela is an example of like a leader I look up to the most. And he was falsely imprisoned for like 25 plus years. So I feel like he went through a lot of doom and gloom, but he was able to come out. And then when he would speak, they were at a civil war. And he was like always bringing hope. and do any, and then he was willing to also let other people talk and drop his ego
Mm.
and give the team. And I love Elon Musk to death, but he was like, this is a meeting, and like his chief financial advisor would go out and start to, and he'd immediately cut him off and be, and it's like, dude, you don't have to say every, like, you can, we know you're smart as hell and
Yeah.
amazing. Like, you can strategically have other people talk. And like my monthly all dream team meetings, I sit there as part of the team.
Mm.
My program director leads them.
That's awesome.
I don't get up there, I'm like, I'm the owner.
Right, right.
I'll chime in
Of
when things are
course.
needed.
Of course.
But like,
That's cool.
and it's taken practice to get there.
Right, because you're
But
passionate, and Elon's, probably very passionate and emotional, rightfully so. But I think
yeah,
leaders have a responsibility to, number one, don't see things worse than they are.
yeah,
See them for what they truly are, and then paint optimism for what they could become,
that vision.
Yeah, vision, right? Because it's like,
Even when like what you were just saying,
right,
it's hard. Like you're not sleeping at night.
right.
You're in hell.
Yeah.
But your job as a leader isn't to tell
Can't lose
everyone
faith.
everyone's burning right now. That's the hardest part of leadership, is while you're in hell,
Still,
when you have no hope,
right.
you got to pull that little thread like
Yeah.
from God
Yeah.
to
That's a great way to put it.
be pulling the vision out. And
It's true.
to follow up with Elon, because I mean, he's used social media and all that amazingly.
Hmm.
However, having a huge platform means you also are going to fail in front of a huge audience, which
A lot of responsibility.
I'm not judging that. I'm not saying that couldn't be me, but what a real leader does is you're able to then check yourself. I think he's surrounded by way too many yes men. I read his autobiography. I love him, but it's like everyone's afraid to say anything or else I'll fire him. That's not a good. There's parts of that where he keeps everyone driven that are great, but when it's too fear based, you'll only have yes men and you won't learn how to grow. And someone that he has one person on a team, this lady that's amazing, that's able to basically like translate stuff into human messages that
That's
helps
awesome.
the team out a lot. But a part of that, we all screw up, but would be someone being like, dude, you need to rewatch that, come back out, humble yourself and be like, I respect someone more when they're like, which Powell and all them, they'll never do it. I effed up. I effed up. My emotion, I'm going through this.
Yeah. And I
We are
think,
going to get through this. I do love my team. That doesn't make you look dumb.
no, I think if anything, it'll make people have sympathy for you. Like, damn, like I can't imagine like what it's like to be Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Like when does the guy sleep? Like, how do you have so many companies, and they're like not small companies. These are, Twitter alone is like, God, like changing the world. Tesla's changing the world. SpaceX changing the world.
SpaceX,
It's like they're all changed. Like I can't imagine. So I think if
the
he showed,
robots.
yeah, if he showed some humility and, um, transparency about what he was going through, I think people would be fine with it. And they'd be like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. But he, as a leader, has to have that self awareness of like, look, like maybe it's best I don't talk in this meeting. Maybe it's
Yeah.
best I don't, because I'm not in a good place. Let my
Right.
CEO, it's not like he doesn't have people.
And
Like
when you're
he
that
just doesn't
good and
trust them
smart, because
enough.
when you can do everything,
Right.
it's great, but also becomes your weakness, because without a
Yeah.
good team, you've got to be able to learn to hold the expectations, teach them, coach them, but then be able to step back and have them elevate things in other area and criticize them in private, coach them in private,
Mm.
praise them in public.
Love that.
Don't call someone out, which is what all these people do the wrong way in front of the whole, you idiot, that kills the unity, but it also doesn't mean it's all fake. Have a one-on-one with them. Hey, I love you. This has to get better. Here's how.
Mm.
But you don't do it in front of the whole team. That It's so funny because it kills, he's burnt out, and then what he just did kills unity more.
Mm.
So guess what? The team's going to be less productive. There'll be less momentum. Stock sales plummeted. I lost money that day. He lost billions. And the flip side of it is you give vision, you give hope. The unity actually builds, the momentum builds. And guess what? That makes you less burnt out.
It's a great point. You know, I think, yeah, I think leaders have a job. We have a big responsibility. Most people follow. So to be a leader is the harder path. You have to muster up strength. It takes a lot of courage and strength to be a leader. But
Hmm.
I think, I was reading something recently about like George Washington and how like, this guy, everyone looked at him as like some stoic, like unemotional like guy, but it's actually the complete opposite. He just kept it composed. He didn't let his emotions overrule logic and decision making and things like war and doing all the
Mm.
crazy things he did. And it was like, I think that's kind of the responsibility of a leader is like it's nothing wrong with emotions, but it's like people look to the leader for certainty. And if the
Right.
leader is uncertain within themselves, that sends a very subconscious and conscious message to the followers of that leader of like, can we really trust this guy? Does he really have what it takes? I
It
think that
makes
happens a
everyone on
lot.
edge.
Yeah. And it's,
Yeah.
think about it like this. If like you have a family, like you're a dad, you have a family and your wife and your kids are looking at you to be the pillar of light and
Right.
you're like,
Especially in a rough like a
right, in a
really,
rough
really
moment where they
rough.
need you to be strong and you're,
Yeah.
like, breaking down. Now, not to say, like, you can't ever have hard days or whatever, but, like,
Right.
it doesn't you stay there. Like, if you stay there, then it's, like, a problem,
Right.
You gotta be the strong one, like, Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, and it really hits me deep, like, you
So
should
true.
you should be the strongest person at your father's funeral. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that you can't cry. That's not what he's saying. He's
Right.
saying there's an inner strength, like this doesn't define us. This doesn't change our life. Like yes, our father's gone and this is life though. It goes on. And you have that voice of hope and I think when you speak to that, it just pierces other people's spirit and like wake up out of like a illusion, like this is the end of the world.
That's
Things
what a leader
things
is.
change.
Like,
Like everything changes, everything grows, everything
yeah.
everything dies, and that's the cycle of life. So when things aren't going good, it's just like, all right, like something's evolving, something's changing, it's going through a process, and we got to let that ride out and stay strong and have faith. Faith and fear both require something you can't see. Like,
So
what are you going
so
to
true.
choose?
And they're both relevant.
Yeah,
Like,
a hundred
you
percent.
take fear in and calculate the risks and then
Yeah,
make a strategy to move onward. Then you pivot and adjust along the way. And like Jordan Peterson also said at the funeral, he's like, God forbid, like, he's like, everyone's already dealing with the trauma of a death.
exactly.
And then you got to be the one that say you're not speaking to your brother, you're saying you got to be the one that's able to be like humble up and lead up and be like, hey, we're gonna get through this. We're
Oh
instead of
yeah.
being like, I'm not in, bringing more drama in on top of. He's like, that's the most horrible thing he's seen is when they're already dealing with a death, and on top of that, the family's got all this drama and there's no real leader and it's all toxic. So no one's able to even like heal because then they're just there fighting with each other and stuff. Where a leader, it takes more power to be able to like drop your ego and be like, no, I'm gonna forgive them in this through this to step up as a leader to make peace for my family for this setting,
Mm,
and help be like the thermostat on the emotions, even
love
though
that.
I'm facing it myself. It's
Right.
harder to be a leader.
Oh, it's way harder.
That's like that's what people don't see, but it's also
Way
one of the
harder.
most important
And
components of
rewarding, I
leadership
think,
and
too, as you
rewarding.
grow. Because then it's like, wow, you really have, you have like this muscle of strength developed that you can call upon in these hard times when people like we've all been in those scenarios where like everybody's freaking out and then
Mm.
there's that one like dude who's like totally calm and centered and like it's gonna be fine.
Mm.
Like just that is enough to like help people move back into like balance and like, yeah, it's not as bad as it seems.
It No, it is.
Yeah, it's literally that
And
simple.
when people are thinking, "Well, that person doing that, I'm not wired like that because they don't have worry." They
They
do,
do. They just have it
but
under
they're
control.
able to know, "I have to strategically go beyond that as my responsibility as a leader and
Yep.
be the one giving hope and vision right now, even though I'm feeling fear and doubt and stuff myself, like Elon was before that call. It's
Mhm.
like you got to be able to check yourself and know I'm the one that everyone's looking to of where to go. So if I'm like, there's a fire, we're all gonna burn, we're all gonna die, everyone's gonna just panic
Freak
and run into
out.
the fire instead of
Exactly.
like, I was thinking of you're talking about being a father. I remember moving from Columbus, New Albany to Boca Raton, and we went through a thing where we put COVID hit, tons of stuff with Dream Shine, and then we put money down for this new build because nothing was available. Like years ago, I took it like calculated risk. Our house was supposed to sell so quickly, but the first time we put it up, day before the sale, the guy pulled out. We had to involve a lawyer.
Oh, damn.
It didn't sell. We were in between. And I remember at one point, my wife was like, "Oh my God, this isn't gonna, what are we gonna, we're gonna have to not, we can't do this anymore. It's not, we can't sell." And she was scared. And guess what? So was I.
Of course.
But I remember I looked at her and I'm like, there's no turn. I'm like, there's literally no option. Like it's not if we have to sell this house and we've already put the money down. We're going there. So I'm like, that's not, there is no looking back. We're only figuring out how to keep going forward.
Mm.
That's done. And I didn't even know it in the moment, but it was like 2
That's
months
huge.
later she told me when something was going on, she's like, "Mark, you remember you reminded me." She's like, "And that's helped me. There is no looking back."
Mm.
And I didn't even realize how much that she's like, "I was so scared I would, but you reminded me, no, we got this. Like
That's
we can't
beautiful.
look back." And I'm like, "Man, I didn't even realize." And I was scared as hell in that moment too, but I was just like, "We can't."
Right. You chose more strength. You were just like, we're going.
And it got us all in that same, and it happened. And
Fuck
now we're
yeah.
here,
Fuck yeah.
right?
That's leadership, man. And it's like
Yeah.
that's the best leaders when they don't even know they're leading, just their example of their life is leadership,
Mm.
you know. That's awesome. Because she probably felt so safe in that moment, like my man's got us.
That's what men don't realize,
Yeah,
like,
man.
dude, and there's times where you're a leader, again, check your ego,
100%.
where I'll back off and let my wife have the thing for the in the moment, like happy wife, happy life. I She runs that, she can control that. Doesn't make me less of a man,
No.
but when it comes down to the ship is sinking, they need a man
Oh,
to be
yes.
like, and your kids, instead of being like the guy that's like, "What do we do, honey? Kids, we're all gonna," like, "You go here, you go, we're gonna bail out. We're gonna
Yeah,
get out
we're
of
gonna
this
figure this
storm."
out. Yeah. Just think about it. When the Titanic was going
They
down,
need a foundation.
they
Yes,
need strong leaders. When the Titanic was going down, the men put all the kids and the women on the boats first.
100%.
Then they went.
Right.
It's like they're that selfless. That's what men do. That's literally what men do. We like this is
That's
why
what you're
men
supposed to do.
you're right. This is why so many not that women can't be police officers or firefighters or these things, but that's usually a more male dominated realm because men have this innate capacity to serve uh you know for the greater good of others. Not that
Mm.
women don't as well, they just do it in a different way. They're the nurturers and these things, and
And women can be
they
I
are
would say
leaders. Women
even
are
this is
leaders.
also a
It's just a
component of
different,
leadership.
yeah.
Like, if you're a woman and you're a leader, you have to have these, if you're a leader and you're a woman for your company,
Right.
d
I was speaking
you
more
have to
to
have these
like
same like the family.
yeah, and the mentality of like the physical strength of like if there's somebody breaking
Sure.
in your house, you're gonna want a strong man that is certain and confident and capable
Right,
to
instead
come
of, like,
in.
hiding behind your wife.
Yeah, right. So, obviously nuances with everything, but
What's her name? Candace, is it Candace Owens?
mhm.
You know who she is?
Yeah, I like her.
I heard, yeah, she's cool. She's someone I'd love to get on the show.
Haha,
Candace,
she'd
if
be
you watch,
awesome.
She's great. Her husband's white, with my wife being black. We could have some
Oh, I
great
didn't know that.
conversations. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But I heard her, she was like, I broke up with a guy in New York that was like super good looking dude, pretty successful, but he had like 15 locks on his door and was like, this is a lock for the lock for the lock. If someone break and she's like, one day I got to thinking like if someone breaks in here, he's like
Screwed.
gonna hide behind me. And she's like, "I broke up with him the next day."
That's
She
hilarious.
didn't tell him. She's like, "I didn't say I'm breaking up with you because 'cause you're a
Right.
pansy."
Right.
But she's like, "I realize if, like, the shit goes down, he's gonna use me as a shield, and I don't wanna be that's not a man."
No.
And I left him. And people are still and this all goes back to leadership.
Yep.
You gotta be willing to, like, run into the gunfire
Yep.
when everyone else is running away.
Yep.
It's like it's not a choice. It's what separates the good from the great.
100%. 100%. I think challenges in our business and our personal life, uh, these are gifts from God to grow,
Mm,
for us to grow. Truly, that's how I see it. It's like, anytime, like, I like, there's this term I recently learned. It's called, like, learned helplessness, where
right.
you're going through something really hard and it seems like the problem's permanent, so you pretty much just start feeling sorry for yourself. It's like another form of victimhood. It's like this learned helplessness, and it's learned because it's over time. But we all fall into those modes where we feel sorry for ourselves. But I have learned, and, like, when I find myself slipping into that,
Mm,
I remember, like, oh no, this thing that's happening to me is a gift from my creator to help me develop in an area where maybe I'm not fully developed, or make me see
mm.
something I'm not seeing, or do something I'm not doing. And that helps me, cope and use it as a source of, like, strength instead of victimhood.
Mm.
Yeah, it's been very powerful for me. And it's an ongoing learning.
'Cause I like you brought that up. I know we only have a few minutes left, but this has been as another business owner and a leader,
Yeah.
w- to keep letting people know we're not saying we don't go through all of this that
Oh
we're
gosh.
like to learn how I go through seasons. Dude, there's
Same.
times I'll text you later. I have to sometimes just get
Yeah,
it.
get it
It
out.
has to be to the right person. I
Yeah.
try not to you don't like hand your problems like down to your team unless you're strategizing,
Right.
but it's like to like a
Yeah, like a listening
peer
ear.
or someone that like is in the war with you or whatever
Yes.
that you can versus like Elon was I love you Elon, but in that meeting like fire we're all burning to everyone that's on the ship, like you got to talk to someone that's running another ship.
Right.
Sometimes you're
Yeah,
just
right. That's a
helping each
great
other.
analogy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, use
Another
the
captain of another
walkie-talkie to
ship.
go call
Yeah, not like
someone on the boat.
over the loudspeaker to
We're
everyone in
all
all
gonna
the rooms. Oh
die.
my God, there's a and dude, and sometimes
That's a great
you get
analogy.
so isolated as a leader, you just gotta sometimes you just gotta get it out, and then another
Yeah,
person just listens. And then by you saying it, you already know
you
because
have
we
the
fix
answer.
stuff.
Right, in saying
And
it.
it's like, I got this out. This isn't me. I just had to get it out.
Right.
Onward and upward.
Yep, it happens. I do it too. We all do it. We have to. I mean, that's what being a human is. I think holding things in
Mm.
doesn't really lead to, anything good usually.
What are with a few minutes left, what are a few ways that you get what are some things you do to get through those moments and build
Hard
yourself
moments?
up? Um, I'm thinking how like you recently took on is it jujitsu?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't
Yeah, you
know
could
if
see
that
I have 2 black eyes right now, slightly. I got knocked. This one got poked and this one got punched.
it's awesome.
Accidentally.
I saw a
Um,
clip of you fighting. Does
yeah,
that uh, or you answer just so like when you're going through anything
yeah.
with yourself, with your business, with your team, What are some things to other people listening, like practical that they could do that
Yeah, for
when they're in a
sure.
rut, man? Because I feel like right now a lot, dude. It's been
We're in
hard.
winter.
We're still in like PTSD of the whole COVID
Yeah, and
thing, and it's been nonstop.
there's a book you gotta read called The Fourth Turning, and we're in the fourth turning right now.
Mm,
And this is a time in history that happens roughly every 100, I think, years, 80 to 100 years, and it's just like a really hard, bad cycle.
mm,
It's the most painful, and this is usually what ends the cycle is a war, which is like why World War III is like being talked about right now, which is like it might be a cyber war, might be a physical war, but like a war is bound to come in some form, and there already is wars in different ways. Um, with
but don't allow that to stop you from thinking.
n-
Don't
n-
allow that to paralyze you.
no,
So how do
exactly,
you not allow that to paralyze you?
exactly.
Like the
So
learned helplessness.
yes, so
Isn't that an example of learned helplessness?
yeah,
Like the news says there's a war, there's going to be a war.
therefore I can be sad
I
and
or
depressed and sleep and
paralyzed. I
yeah,
shouldn't start I
exactly,
shouldn't keep working on my business. I should just
exactly.
stay in bed all day.
Yep.
It's hopeless to
Yep.
try
See,
because
this is
we're
the
doomed.
exactly. So
And
this
then you
is
become doomed.
yeah, and yeah, exactly, because the
Mm,
story you tell yourself becomes real. So I think for people, they have to understand that if you can make it during a hard time in life in the economy, then you'll be fine forever.
mm,
Like if you can make it in winter, if you can learn how to snowboard and ski in winter, then in summer it's going to be so fruitful. But most people, winter weeds them out.
mm.
They fail or they give up. And because of that, they don't see the benefits that can come by somebody who worked hard all throughout winter and didn't give into the fear and whatnot. So it's really a mental game.
Mm,
In the past, I made the mistake of running. I used to keep, like in my past relationship, I kept a lot of my problems inside.
mm,
But then I also, like, it was like I had two outlets inside or my girlfriend.
mm,
Horrible thing for any man listening, whether you're married or in a relationship. Like, your wife is not your therapist
mm.
or your girlfriend. And I made that mistake a lot looking for her to fix my problems. And it wasn't even like I wanted solutions. It was almost just like I wanted to be listened to
You want an outlet.
and I wanted to vent, but
Yeah.
that's not how it works for women. They take that as like
Mm,
this guy's unsafe in their nervous system. So, as I've grown, I've realized, okay, number one, I need men I can talk to.
mm,
That's been transformational for me. Like I've actually hired some men's coaches and different therapists, and it has done wonders for me
mm.
because it's just received differently guy to guy.
Yeah.
It's just totally different type of energy. That's number one. Number two is like really like before you think you have a problem and you're sitting in it, I really do think gym, martial arts, these things is like one of the best therapies, man. Like move your body, sweat, and then see if you're still feeling that problem.
Mm.
That's been game changer for me. And then, those are really my two main ways is like other men and really the gym. And then if the problem's persistent, I think God's always a good solution as well.
Of course. Yeah,
Going to
yeah.
God.
Don't
Yeah.
forget about that. There's times where I'll do everything and then God's like, "You forgot to bring that to me." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah."
The
He's like,
most
"'Cause I'm the one
important.
that controls it all." Yeah, sometimes it's letting it to him,
Yeah,
in prayer, just like, dude, that's what he's there for.
exactly.
He does. It's like just this is and his God listens, man.
He does.
But that's a great point of having other men. I've coached. I was just telling you this. I don't openly advertise it. I might. It's like as needed 'cause I'm so busy. But I love that when I've worked with other like men and leaders and stuff. And a lot of times it's strategy. A lot of times it's like strategy mixed with therapy. And they just need to hear, I'm going through the same thing
You
and
got
they're
this.
like, "Oh, you go through?" Yeah.
It's literally
And they're
that
like,
simple
"Dude, Mark, I'm
sometimes.
ready." Like, "Oh my God, thank you."
Dude, it's
To
literally
be
that simple
relatable.
sometimes. Yeah. It's literally that
Yeah.
simple sometimes. Like me and my
Mm.
couple of my good buddies, we were out this past weekend just watching the UFC fight and getting a cigar and just hanging out at the lounge and all successful guys in all different industries and we were all just kind of talking about like all the good and all the bad. And it's really cool because it's like, yeah, man, you could be 10 years into a business and, you know, everything's not sunshine and rainbows. And it's
Right.
just like, you too? cool, man. Like, let's keep fighting. Like, let's keep the good fight. And it's like that alone for men, anyways, it's like solution solved. Like,
That's the
you're not
iron
alone.
sharpens iron.
Exactly. And
That
it's like,
like, dude, the Bible's the best personal development book.
it is.
God's like, I've given you I told you, iron sharpens
It's like
iron.
the playbook.
Like you've got to get around other. Yeah, it's like just with other captains of the ship too,
Yes.
because you've got. They don't have to be in your same business, but they can relate.
Right.
They've been through leadership struggles
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
that you can just, dude. It's just hearing, oh, you too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're
Yeah.
good.
Exactly. And then it's like
Yeah,
their
because you feel so
perseverance rubs off.
isolated.
Yeah, and that's the hard part about being an entrepreneur. Like, it is the lonely journey. And I think it's so important for young and older
Mm,
entrepreneurs. I say this advice, giving it to myself, is like, you got to hang out with people. You got to talk to other people. You got to get away from the family and sometimes,
mm,
do like with other friends and stuff. Like, that's huge for me, man. Like, me and my brother live to each other, but I also have my friend group outside of my brother. And in the past, I had friend groups outside of my girlfriend. And I
mm.
think that's really important for entrepreneurs. We need those outlets. And
In
then you
person
can,
sometimes too, dude. Because
oh my God,
I
yeah.
need to get back. That was a cool thing about when I had a mastermind. I want to start up is when we would do like the every 6 months in
Yeah.
person meetups
Yeah.
at like a certain place. We'd have it at a cool spot,
Yeah.
but dude, there'd be grown men running
Yeah.
Fortune 500 like in tears,
Yeah. Oh, for
but
sure.
also we're set. But it's like none of us make the time to get. But then we would do fun stuff. We would
Right.
go like cliff jumping
Yeah. Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
cool. But
Yeah. I'm in a group like that.
we're
Every
all so
every
damn
quarter,
busy. We don't make time to do that.
we got to
And it's so
prioritize it.
important. And I'm preaching, you're saying that I'm
Yeah.
preaching to myself. That's making me want to start it back up again, either
That's
because
awesome.
running it helped me accountable to
Dude,
be there with everyone too.
totally, man. And,
Mm.
we all, no one's superhuman. We all need each other. And I think that's the point. Part of the point of this existence is like to all help each other, you know, grow and evolve in our best capacities.
I
We need
love
each
it,
other.
man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. And let us know what you think. And Anton and I are gonna try to we live right by each other. We've connected, a lot of similar connections. Another captain of the ship here. Um, but I'm gonna try to pull you here in the studio,
Yeah.
like at least like if we can once a month. And so if people ever have questions or anything, send
Yeah.
them in.
Yeah.
We're
Totally.
we're willing to really just discuss.
Yeah.
It's like
Freeform.
leadership therapy sessions
Dude,
for
heck
us and
yeah.
for everyone. That's what we
Dude,
should
yeah.
call it.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
So
Epic.
this has been amazing, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
everyone, just send us in any questions about anything with life, and we'll
Yeah.
be happy to discuss them
Yeah, be
on
sure to like
future
and subscribe
shows.
and share this episode if it brought you any value. We don't charge anything per se, but if there was a fee, it would be sharing it with a friend.
I'm glad. Thank you for saying that. That's why he's a social media guru. I heard my man Dave Ramsey saying that on his podcast
Oh yeah.
because I don't remember. And he's like, get on all, go to, it's on Apple Podcasts. He's like, we have 240 amazing reviews. Thank you, everyone. But the algorithms, you got to keep doing
Yeah.
it.
Got
So
to.
jump on there, give a 5 star, or do it on Spotify because that keeps sharing the knowledge with other people. And I was like, man, I'm glad he reminded me to say that. That reminds me to say it.
Heck yeah.
And I do, and plus I want to support, and plenty of people listening. We just forget,
Oh,
and it's like, oh,
absolutely.
that matters. And then I'll just borrow his word, but he's like, if you're a troll and you're gonna leave a 1 star, like we don't need you. Go troll someone else. Like if you love it, share the awesome knowledge. If you hate it, just don't listen to it. You don't have to be a troll and leave all that crap. Go listen to someone else.
Love that. Cool. See you on the next one.
All right. See you later, everyone.